Scared money don't make money. When you do what you love, the money will always come. This is your business and no one's gonna run it good for you except you.
If you're pursuing the right things, and like you said, if you're pursuing what you love, it's a byproduct, it's not a destination, right? It's like what comes after you pursuing value in others and like serving other people.
Like burnout is like a big thing. Like you want to have, what is it, boundaries. And I'm like, yeah, all of those things are great, but nothing in my life to me feels like work.
Well, today we got the wonderful Michelle. She is a crazy talented planner, amazing human, and businesswoman. And the more I get to know you, it's crazy how many things I feel like you have going on, and just your passion for life. You got a contagious smile. So if you're watching this, it's a fun one. So anyways, thank you, Michelle, for taking the time to be here. I'm super pumped to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's always an honor.
Yeah. Always an honor. Well, it was fun. I know we got to meet a little bit in Santa Barbara, but I know you are quite popular though. So I'm glad. I feel like I get, the one-on-one time to chat and just hear about like business and life. Obviously you're like crazy successful in the wedding industry, but I mean, I'm super passionate about business and life, and just how do you create a life that isn't centered around your business, but like create a business that actually serves your life. So I love to hear like from you, like just what's something you're really grateful for today? What are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful I woke up. It would have been a real drag if I didn't. But today I am grateful that the windows are being installed at my new house, so that it won't rain in there anymore. So I'm very grateful for that. That is something I was very excited this morning when I went over there and took a peek.
That is very exciting. Wait, were they all on time or were they delayed? How's the window delivery time now?
No, actually, our guy did good. He had them in 4 weeks, but he did bring one wrong window for my office. Ooh. So they did say it would take 10 weeks to get that one window, but I think they said 10 weeks to deter me from returning it. And I was like, nope, return it.
Yeah, no, that sounds, when we did our kitchen remodel, this was like back in 2022 where like supply chain was still crazy and we needed to replace 2 windows. And I think it was about a year and 2 months. It was crazy. But I found one a year and 2 months.
Wait, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, girl, it was crazy. And I was like, well, I was talking to my brother-in-law who was like a contractor, and he's like, yeah, don't get the Home Depot ones. Like, no, like get nicer windows. I'm like, okay, fine. Yeah. But I was like, well, how do I get these windows? So I finally found a contractor like up in Santa Cruz, which is like an hour north of us, that they got the wrong size, and it was the right size. So I got one, and then I ordered a second one. So half our kitchen had a piece of plywood up for a good 2 months or a year. Yeah. And then it got into the winter. Yeah. We got into the winter and it's like all the heat's just like flying out of the window. And it was great. There was like a tire mark across the middle. So in our kitchen, there's just like this tire mark because it's a piece of plywood that they just had out in the front yard. So they just threw it up. Hindsight, we should have had our toddler paint on it or something to make it cute. Right. But it was one of those things where it's like, oh, it's probably going to be here in 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks or a month. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay, now we're a year later. But I'm excited that you got the windows on. So is everything like contained now with the house? Like it's like weather sealed now?
Yes, now it's weather sealed. Yeah, no,
besides
it'll
your
be
office?
Done today. Yes, don't bring it up. Besides my office.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That one window. Yeah.
That one window. That's why that's your office. But are they going to do the plywood thing, you think? Something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they have to do. Well, we have to do the board care treatment. I don't know. Like these steps will be on the Lake House
the
Diary.
New Orleans thing, or what is this? Okay.
No. Well, yes, and no. It should be for everyone, but the board care treatment it treats all of the wood in the house in case there's any mold set up, because during construction it did rain a lot. So some of our wood that's in our house does have mold on it, but then the board care also treats the wood so no insects, once they insulate it, will come in your house. And then you redo it every year. But the first one is like really intense. Like you can't be in the house for 4 days after they do the board care treatment.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So when's your guys' moving date? I know. I mean, that's like a
Thanksgiving.
No way. You're going to do Thanksgiving in the house?
Well, that's our alleged move-in date. We will not be doing Thanksgiving because my husband and I are having a wedding this year. And it is it is projected to be 2 weeks after our move-in date. So we're like burning the candle at both ends and in the middle. It's just
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
lots of things.
That is crazy, dude. Doing weddings. I mean, as you know, at home, we got married at my parents' house too. So I
Uh-huh.
definitely, I mean, who are you doing most of the planning yourself, or do you have someone helping you out, or
For
how is it
mine or
being
in
on the,
general?
yeah, for you.
I'm doing it myself.
You go, girl. That's correct.
You did you hear the I'm doing it myself? It was like a struggle, but I
Yeah, it is a
mean,
struggle. I mean,
I'm like, well, Erica, obviously
yeah.
we're really good friends. So she's gonna fly in and help, but like how much help is she really
Okay.
gonna be? I mean,
We love you, Erica.
she's gonna be at the bar, I'm sure she'll get me down the aisle, but the rest of the day could just be like, Erica, stop flirting. Erica, I love
Oh,
her.
you're gonna make me cry. Oh, it's funny. It
you
fits too
know.
visual. Like I see it in my head. Like I know the lake house property. I could just see her. Yeah, that's funny. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah,
Well,
she's
yeah,
definitely
she
gonna be
is.
at the bar. She's gonna be like,
Oh,
I did my
she's too much
job.
fun. I did my job. Are you guys
Um,
doing? Is it a how many day? Is it like a 1 day event? Or are you guys stretching it out? Or
no. So I did not want to have a wedding because oh
mm-hmm.
God, here we go. Like I have no
Okay, there
immediate
you go.
family. They've all passed away, and so I didn't want the like emotions or pressures of an actual wedding. But Mr. Norwood, the most sentimental person on the face of this earth, is like, but
God
we
bless
really
Mr. Norwood.
should. Your mom would be so proud. Your dad would be so proud. Like we should.
Oh,
And so like, oh my God, after like asking and asking and asking, I'm like, fine, we will do it. So in my head, I just kind of thought it'd be a simple little thing. Like we just like have a few people, like we'd sit down, eat, we'd say I do, we move on. Shoot. Mm-mm,
wait.
mm-mm.
Okay. Can we backtrack a second?
Mhm.
So like you just know a little bit about wedding planning, right? Like you've done a few
Yeah.
and maybe you've done some like just here and there, right? Like I know you're still dipping your toes into the whole thing, but like,
Yeah.
and Michelle Norwood, you're telling me that you're like, oh, I thought this was just gonna be like a little, you going all over the world, doing these like little tiny weddings everywhere, and you're just,
I was just gonna
am I tracking
slide
right? Am I
my
tracking? Was that the thought
listen, this
process?
is this is a
Okay.
real thought process. Like I'm so serious. This is not a joke. I was like, this won't even be a thing. It'll be nothing. And so we were on the phone with my aunt one day, and my aunt was like, y'all having this little tiny backyard wedding. And I was like, no, let me show you what it looked like. I pull up my Pinterest board and I showed it to her, and she was like, oh, that's not how you described it. And I was like, it's just a simple little thing. It's no big deal. And so then we go out for date night, and let's be real, every night's date night, but we go out for date night, and he says, oh, my mom has a bone to pick with you. I was like, with me? And so he was like, yes, she said we got to have more than 40 people there. And I was like, what? It's not a thing. We're just having 40. Oh my God, full on like bride thing. I'm like, it was a very uncomfortable conversation because she was like, oh no, we have to invite everybody. And I was like, but no. This is like not a thing. And she was like, but no, it is a thing. So we got to invite
Mm,
everybody. And so I was like, but
of course.
I uninvited one of my uncles and three of my aunts this morning. I was like, y'all can't come. We don't have room. And so she was like, oh, well, no, you got to invite them because we got to invite everybody. I was like, oh my God, this has turned into a thing. I didn't want it to be a thing. And now it's a thing. I mean, now it's a thing.
That's crazy. Is your husband, is he excited? Is he excited about the, is he
Oh
more the
my
merrier,
God.
or did he also want the,
God, no, he's like, yes, let's invite everybody.
I
I
love
was
it.
like,
Mr. Norwood, he's my kind of guy. I was the same. I was like, can we just invite, I mean, we got room. Let's just keep it coming. Jessica's like, no, I'm not, which I mean, I don't know. There's a, so what's the number at right now?
oh, we started
What's
at
crazy?
40, and now we're
Uh-huh.
at 87.
Okay. That's still not crazy.
I know, but I feel like 87 is going to turn into 100
That's true. Okay. What's the biggest guest count you've had for one of your
at a
clients?
wedding, like as
Yeah.
planning.
Mhm.
725. Yeah.
Ooh, so you're like at least not touching. That's crazy. That is. I think the biggest event we've done is like 500, and that was like
Uh,
crazy. I can't even imagine on the planning side. That is insane.
I had a
700.
team of 28 people for that wedding. It was
That
it was
I
hard.
it still was probably
It was
crazy.
hard. I left that wedding and I said, I will never do this again.
Never again. Never again. You're like, I will
Never.
never. Yeah, no, that is
No.
definitely like a crazy, 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 crazy thing. Well, okay, so you're doing weddings. Like, give me what are you like really? So obviously, this I'm not gonna let you have this be the answer, but I mean, maybe it's true or not. But like something that what are you most excited about right now besides getting married in your house,
Oh.
like in business or life, like
Oh, in
whatever one,
business?
or like it could be life too. No, or life. I'm just getting rid of
Um,
the obvious wedding and like getting the nice new house.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. What am I most excited? I'm excited about the next chapter. Like
Mm.
what I'm like working on some things I can't really say.
Okay. What
I'm
what
working
can
on
you
a
say? What
cookbook.
can you say? Next
Oh,
chapter.
I am. I
A
was getting there.
cookbook. Oh, so you
I'm
can say
working on a
cookbook. Okay. Okay.
cookbook. Yes. I don't know if you've been following for a while. I had a cooking show um during COVID called What's in Your Pantry. So that is being turned into a cookbook. So that is coming soon, and I'm working on some design stuff. So like there'll be a transition where I'll be leaning more into interior design and furniture design and those fun things. Yeah. So I'm excited
That's
about
exciting.
all
When
of
is that?
that.
When is that
Yeah.
coming? Is that coming down the pipeline like later this year or
Yes.
soonish?
Yes, later this year, early next year, you'll see all of it
Okay.
out. Yeah.
Very
It's
fun. So
exciting.
that's
Yeah.
exciting.
It's
Is that
very
is that taking a
exciting.
lot of your energy then? Like you're like passion pouring into it?
Look, I can't be saying all that. So one of my brides might listen and be like, no wonder she's not responding to my emails. It's so funny. I mean, yeah, obviously, whenever you start something new, it does take a lot of time, and
Yeah.
and there are only 24 hours a day. And even though I am a member of the 5 a.m. club, I only have 4 hours before clients are expecting me to respond to their emails. So it's like it's tricky, but I'm excited about
Hmm.
all of the things. I will say I am always very impressed by myself in the sense where it's like I had none of these things were ever goals or anything that I ever thought that I would do, want to do. And it's like in situations where, like, the first time I ever flipped the house, the first time I ever made so much money on a check with my name on it, I was like, oh my God, like, what? This is a thing.
Hmm.
And so, like, doing that one time of an opportunity that came my way and like building upon that and creating all of these other little spin-off things from it, I'm very proud of like where I am today, because none of these were I never was like, oh, this is what I want to do. None of this even
Yeah.
was a thought in my brain, so it's very exciting.
No, I love that. I want to talk more about that because I mean, one, a lot of people when they're starting out or they're at a point where maybe they've like plateaued or they're kind of just you're in the grind where it feels like the tires are stuck, right? And they might
Hmm.
look to people like you and other people that are in the industry that have whether it's the wedding industry or I mean, you're in a lot of industries right now. So just people that have like grown successful brands, right? And are passionate about what they do. And it's like, okay, well, how did you get there? Right. I think we were talking about earlier off camera about how a lot of people ask like, what did you do? Like, how do I replicate that? And I like how you said
Yeah.
you didn't really have goals and you found yourself there. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of times we don't realize like as we try to reverse engineer, like our whole life is a result of our inputs, right? Like what you
Hmm.
reap, what you sow, and whatever like you're taking in is what is going to later spin out, right? So like, what are the things like thinking about like just maybe is like has anything really changed like from back then like how you're like spending your time and like your mindset like has there been like what's like been like is there been any shift or is it just like the natural progression of like well like I sowed this and I'm just continue to do the same things just building upon each other that makes sense like
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, there's definitely been shifts along the way. Like even this
mm-hmm,
morning, I was like, I this morning, and I mean like I work like Erica and I stayed at Pelican Hill, and I woke up and she was in her bed, like knockout sleeping. I was up at 5 a.m. I'm like responding to emails, taking calls, editing videos. And I'm like, I work. But even this morning, I woke up and I was like, oh, I wasted 3 hours on the plane that I could have been maybe editing videos or uploading things or like working on a new blog post. So like my shift is always like, you have to work harder because like the world is changing. Like all of these things, while they may have come to me in a time where I was ready to accept them, I'm like, in order to keep them and continue to flourish, I have to work more. Or not like necessarily like, you know how people are like burnout, not in that sense, but
Mm-hmm.
like be more cognizant of my time in the sense of I'm only one
Mm.
person and I'm running all of these things. And like right now, my assistants are like getting ready for the wedding this weekend. And so it's like while they're doing those things and getting ready and prepping, I'm like on this podcast with you and like making time for that and like always staying
Mm-hmm.
relevant and also always making sure I'm putting my best foot forward. So like always in my mind, I'm like, I have to be a better version of myself every day so that I could keep all of these
Mm.
things going. So it's like I never
Yeah.
get like comfortable in the position I'm in because there's always someone right behind you ready to take it. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that I'm uncomfortable in any way, but I also know that I can't take any of this for granted. And so that I have to continue to work and sow those seeds so that my future could be just as great as my present.
Mm-hmm. No, like when you say it's not like you said, like the grind, like burnout, where I think some like burnout can be you're doing the same thing over and over again. And I mean, to me, I think I've been burned out when we've been bored too. Like they're like
Yeah.
things are easy. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of work just because you're doing so much, but
Yeah.
like you're saying, it's because you're like continually working of how you could refine and like redeem your time to be like of higher value. Is that what you'd kind of say? Like where you're like,
Exactly.
okay, what are the things like intentionally I could be like stack my chips of my time? Like you said, okay, if I only have 4 hours a day until I'm like on with clients. Like for me, I only got 4 hours a day until I'm running down the road to my little to preschool for that
Right.
wonderful 1 o'clock hour. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be listening to my I love little Rachel, but she has a lot to say. And if I'm not listening, so I'm like, I got 4 hours without like drawn pictures all day. So it's
Yeah.
that same thing where if you only have a limited amount of time, how are you spend like are you investing that time in something that could sow
Right.
seeds in the future, or are you spending it and not getting a return later? Like you said, like one, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast. But something that like can come out and like have like further reward versus something that
Yeah.
you could train somebody else on your team to do. Um,
Right.
and then like give them a job, but then you also can go do something of higher value.
Right.
But
Like being here with you is another, in my opinion, and it's another seed sown because like
mm-hmm,
it contributes to my SEO, which lasts a lifetime.
mm-hmm,
Like this will always
yeah,
be something that will be searchable. So like even
mm-hmm,
though, you know, someone will be like, oh, you do all these podcasts, you don't get paid for them, or you do this, you know. No, but that's
yeah,
a seed sown into my future in the sense where SEO
mm-hmm,
is forever. And so, like,
yeah,
I think of things very much so, like, not for today, but for 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
yeah,
And so, when people are like, oh, like, burnout is like a big thing, like, you want to have, what
mm-hmm,
is it, boundaries. And I'm like, yeah, all of those things are great, but nothing in my life to me feels like work. I enjoy it all. I like it all. I
mm,
never feel like, oh, I'm so sick of this. Oh, and I'm not gonna say that like there are some clients where I'm like, whew, they are like, taking every inch of time I have. But you know, in the end, it's still like I still feel good about all of the things that I bring to the table. So for me
mm-hmm,
personally, I I enjoy all of the levels of complexity that are in my life that shape me into the person that
mm-hmm,
I am. And I do like that you know people see it because like it is a great thing for me and all the things that I have done. Again, none of this was a plan. It's a great thing for me to see people that are like, oh, you're Michelle, and I'm like, and like they follow me on Instagram and I'm like, oh my god, hi, I have no idea who you are, but give me a hug. You know, it's like
mm-hmm.
it feels good to me. And it's like, and again, none of it feels like work, so it makes it easy.
I like that. If it doesn't feel like work, it makes it easy. How
Yeah.
with the you weren't planning for it, like I like the quote when like how people are like, well, if you weren't planning, like how did this just like come upon like just happen, right? And
Hmm.
I'm like, it's really hard for something to just happen by accident. But like a lot of people, are like, oh, someone's just lucky, or they had this like lucky break. But I forget who said it, but the idea of like luck is when
That's
preparation meets opportunity. Like, I mean, to some degree, if you're looking back, like there's a lot of things that you're doing where it's like, okay, if you're working hard at always, if you're always figuring out ways that you could be spending your time wisely and a good impact thing and not just working harder, but intentionally, like
yeah,
it's the inputs, right? Like you can set goals. And
right.
I mean, like I have like, sometimes I like setting goals. Sometimes like, I'm not sure about it, but if you're focusing on like, what are those inputs into you, whether it's like, who are you listening to? Who are you like, you know what I mean? If you're always like, if you,
Yeah,
there's opportunity all around, I think a lot of people don't even realize how much opportunity is there. It's just we're blind to it a lot of the time,
right.
right? Like I think like what you're saying, it's like, how do you like, how does that spark anything in you, or would you
Yeah,
disagree?
absolutely. No, no, no. I agree completely. So like I agree that my career started on luck and then an opportunity came and I took full
Mm-hmm.
advantage of that opportunity and it was an opportunity for my name to get out there. So here's how it happened for everyone that like
Mm-hmm.
it's like how
Yeah,
did
I
you
want to
get
hear like
here?
the tactile. Yeah,
This was the
you can
moment.
answer
I'm
the question
telling you.
so you stop getting the same 30 questions every time.
I
So it
know, but
seems you.
it's not really helpful to anyone because
Mm-hmm.
it was a stroke of luck. Here's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple who was getting married in New Orleans. I was like a no-name New Orleans planner, whatever. No one knew me
Okay.
on a grand scale. And this couple was getting married in New Orleans and they actually spoke with another planner and they gave their planner their idea and the planner declined to work with them and referred them to me. This is what happened. And so
Okay.
when they came to me, they told me their idea. I was like, "Oh, we could take they wanted a backyard barbecue." And I was like, "Oh, we could turn that, we could make it so chic." And so
Mm-hmm.
the clients lived abroad. I never met them until the week of their wedding. We planned their whole wedding. The morning of their wedding, it is going to rain. And the bride was like, I do not want a tent. I don't care. I will dance in the rain. And so I was like, okay, no tents going up. So, but we got with the rental company. We changed everything the morning of the wedding. She never saw anything, so she didn't know what the plan was. So she didn't know what the change was. So we changed everything the morning of the wedding. Her wedding went viral, like was featured in Vogue, was featured in Harper's. I mean, like if you look, this wedding has been everywhere. It is still my most performing wedding on Pinterest to this day, and this was 2019.
Wow.
So that gave my name validity in the sense where it's like, oh, this girl from New Orleans. Like at this point, no one in New Orleans has ever been in Vogue, and like here I am. I like when you think of not that I think of myself in any way, but like when you think of New Orleans and events, you think of Michelle because like that's the most common name you see because now since then I've been in so many publications. Well, then what happened was I got featured on Over the Moon as the top planner for the Southeast region. And then, like, that's more SEO contributing to my
Mm-hmm.
name. And so then I invested in Neil Patel and they did my SEO for 4 years for the next 4 years at a very hefty price tag. So it was like not free anything, it cost a lot. And so they did that for the next 4 years, and that drove my Google up. Well, then within that time, I was named top planners by Harper's Bazaar. I was in Oprah Daily. I was in Drew Barrymore. I was in Wall Street Journal, the New York Times. Like if you named it, my name was in there. And so it was
Mm-hmm.
just a culmination of all of those things. And then COVID happened. And when COVID happened, I was just, even with all of that great press and like all of these wonderful things, I was just like everybody else. I was sitting at the house with nothing to do. So what I did was I put a camera on myself and I started cooking and created a cooking show called What's in Your Pantry. And lo and behold, I had a personality. I mean, I always knew I had a personality, but the
Really?
wedding world, yeah, I knew. I knew. But the wedding world didn't know I have a personality. So then it
Yeah.
spent a little bit to PR. So then I started getting PR packages at my house. People want me to cook with their pots. They want me to use their knives. I partnered with Amazon. I partnered with Four Seasons. I partnered with Resorts in Alaska. It spinned off into travel. So it was just like boom, 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 boom. I took like this one thing that gave my name validity and I spent it into all of these things because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I have to make some sort of money right now because
Mm-hmm.
everybody in the wedding industry is sitting around on what was it, Clubhouse? And I'm like, I can't be on Clubhouse. I know, child, we got to make some money. And so I'm serious. I partnered with Splendid Foods, Daily Harvest. I partnered with American Airlines. Like I partnered with so many brands along the way. And like I was getting free stuff, I was getting checks, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is a thing. And so
Yeah.
for a very long time, I shunned like the influencer title. I was like, that's not it. I want to be like a brand ambassador, like all these things. But I mean, while all of that was happening, I was still, my full-time job was a wedding planner. I was still producing events and being featured. And then I had another wedding in Vogue, like coming right off of COVID. And then I had another wedding in Vogue. And then, it's like, it's been since 2019, like all of these things are happening. But in the end, I started cooking, and bam, a publishing company reaches out, and now it's going to be a cookbook because of something I just did because I didn't have anything else to do. I started showing that my husband and I flipped houses, and then we got partnerships with brands for like furniture and rugs and like all of these things. And now like we're building a house, so like partnerships are still growing. And so it's just kind of been the evolution of like me truly
Yeah.
just living my life and showing my life.
Okay, that you cracked me up because you're like, yeah, I just did it. I got a lucky break, and and you're like, it's that boring. But there's so much in that. Where I'm like, okay, first off, if you're cool, like I was just taking little notes, so I don't forget. That first wedding, you're like, okay, it landed in my lap. I got referred because this planner didn't want it. How did she know about you? Did you have a relationship with this other planner?
Oh yeah, so she was a planner that worked at another venue, and they were looking at that venue. But then when she didn't want to do it, she referred them on to me. And so, it just,
How
she
did you
knew
have that
me.
relationship with her?
Well, the bride was black and I'm black. So it just, I hate to
No, but
say
I'm
it
saying
that
like,
way,
did you
but
know? Did you have any? No, I mean that's like, hey, if you had like
yeah,
some sort of connection, but like,
yeah.
did you have like, how did you stir that relationship where like the planner is going to reach out to you in the first place?
Well, because I truly think it's because I'm
Did
black
she
and the
already know?
bride was black. She knew who I
Oh, and she was
was.
just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
but
She's
you
like,
weren't like
this person.
besties with her.
No.
But
She
she's
was
like,
like,
okay,
hey,
like, yeah,
yeah, this person would be a
okay,
better fit
that
for
makes
you.
sense.
I don't want to deal with a
Yeah.
backyard barbecue wedding. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's
Because
like,
when you
whatever.
say
But I mean,
backyard
that's tough
barbecue,
too. Yeah.
no, I was
You
saying
said
when you
backyard
say
barbecue
back
doesn't give
bar,
the same.
it doesn't give the vibes that this is about to be a Vogue
Yeah.
wedding, but
Yeah.
you needed the vision of Michelle Norwood. No.
Yeah. I love that. No, okay. There's a couple things. I was listening to this podcast a couple days ago, and he's talking about like how so many people would be like, oh, like I don't have this going for me, or like this is why I can't, because like I got kids, I can't do it, or I don't got kids. And it's like you could come up with all these excuses, or you could realize that like every situation there's strengths and weaknesses to what you got. And like in this situation, like, all right, the bride's black, I'm black. Okay, like, hey, there's like connection, like that alone isn't gonna like, but like you changing out the rentals and like taking that vision, because you also could have been like backyard barbecue wedding, like I don't want that, like I want to be like top wedding planner. I can't do that with being a barbecue, but having that vision to be able to take opportunity is, in hindsight 2020, it looks like, oh, obviously you just got it handed out, but in that situation I think it takes like risk and skill and like trust in yourself to take those risks and have vision. Right?
Yeah.
Like you had a vision, like you said, you had the Michelle Norwood be like, no, like this is going to be sick and I'm going to make this really cool. But so many people like that wasn't just like handed on, like, here's this crazy Pinterest board and this mood board that's going to be amazing. And you're like, just execute. I think so many people, they see like the end point, but they don't see you know what I mean? Like all those little steps in the beginning to build that trust and have confidence in yourself, where you said she didn't even see anything till the wedding. Like,
no,
but
she gave me
like,
3 things. She says, I want a backyard barbecue. And she said, I want foil and tin. And I was like, oh, girl, no, we're not doing that. And she said she wanted mixed match crockery. And what was the other? I can't even, no pork. Those were the 3 things. There was no Pinterest board. There was no, here's the design. There was nothing. It was just like, here's what I want. Now go make it great. And so we did. Yeah.
Yeah. How many years were you planning before that?
4 years.
Oh, so not crazy long. I mean, that's a pretty sweet like jump. I mean,
I know.
I mean, there's like the thing of getting experience. To me, like when people are like, oh, pay your dues, like, yes, but to me, I'm like, the whole point is just to get skilled to be able to, in high pressure situations, make good decisions, right?
Yeah.
And it's one, to be able to do it. Like that's level 1. Like, okay, can I execute? Like, can you take good photos? Can you design an event and do that? But then when crap hits a fan, can you still do it? Like, can you do it with your eyes closed and with like someone hitting you like a baby at your foot? You know what I mean? Like there's 2 different levels of like be able to perform. And for you, like saying it rained and then they don't want, and you're switching out rentals day of, like, that's a lot of like, you're performing. It's like an athlete, like, you know what I mean? It's like you got practice and you got game day. So the ability to do that, whether it takes you 4 years, 2 years, 40 years, it's just at the end of the day, like, I don't know if you're like, I'm a big sports guy, but like in a football game, like whether it's a rookie quarterback or he's been doing it for 40 years, like it's the same thing. It's just what do you do with the opportunity, right? And
Yeah,
like what preparation was there, and you could the timeline like can be somewhat of an indicator, but it isn't the end all be all, right? It's just you could
yeah.
get more like consolidated experience quickly, but so you got like the things you still were doing to prep to get to that point where you could perform when you got the opportunity, which I don't want, or I think some people just get stuck in the waiting game. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, how are you preparing? And then also seeing the opportunity. And then the thing you went, but the cool thing I think is that you also ran with it after. You're like, all right, I got this thing. I'm going to like use the heck out of it. And just
Yeah.
like you like still furthered your skill, but then you invested a lot in yourself. Like doing the
Hmm.
SEO thing, like you took risks and you invested. Like
Yeah.
what, like how was that something that was scary for you? Or like how were you like, did you even second guess it? Or was like, no, this is just obvious, like next step?
God, no, it was obvious to me. I was like, listen,
Mm-hmm.
scared money don't make money. So I've made a little
Oh,
money.
say that again. Say that again. What was that?
Scared money don't make money. So I was like,
Ooh.
I got some money and this is a lot and this is like a big investment.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of doing, not to trash any other marketing, but instead of doing like Google ads or anything like that, I
Mm-hmm.
went to the source and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
here is what I want. Here's what the words I want to rank for. Here's what I want my website to be. I have not touched my website without adding, except for adding galleries in 3 years, and I still to this day get compliments on
Mm-hmm.
how pretty it is because I invested in a good website design. And like those things to me, I own. No one,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram could fail, Snapchat, TikTok, they could all go away. I own my website. I own every
Mm-hmm.
dollar I put into SEO to back me. I own all of the
Mm-hmm.
maintenance that goes into that. And like that's where I put my money. Listen, I'm not going to be on
Yeah.
Instagram posting every day because that's on someone else's server. What I put on my website
Yeah.
is on mine and I own that. And
Yeah.
that to me is the most important thing. In anything that I do, it's like, yeah, you'll see it other places, but it's going to always be on something I own. I own my domain name. I own my SEO. I
Mm-hmm.
own my ranking on Google. That's all me.
Mm-hmm. I like to you,
Yeah.
it's like a no-brainer investment to like
Yeah.
invest. But I think a lot of people, it's what are the things like we all have strengths and weaknesses, and there's certain things that are no-brainers to us. And I think when people ask questions, like you're at an event or something, everyone's like asking the same questions over and
Yeah.
over again. But I think it's almost like a blind spot when something's so second nature to you, and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
But other people are like, I didn't even know that's an option because you have like, what's your family history? What's your like network of friends and what do they do with their money? Like, how, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's, the money just alone is a huge thing where it's just, I mean, how you spend your money, I think is just, it's like the central currency of just how do you value your time? What are you spending money on? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's a thing that everything gets converted back to. How do you spend your time? How do you value your
Right.
time? Like for you, spending money on the SEO, one, you could have tried to do it yourself, but one, it probably wouldn't have been done as well, and you would have wasted a ton of time. You know,
It
like I
would
mean,
not
it's
have
like,
been
or
done
you
as
could
well.
like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's just, but so much times people get stuck. I think, especially like in the US, like, oh, like do it yourself, you know, fix your own car, do all these things. But if you have people that are really gifted at something else, you're like, why not invest in them? It's going to get done better, and you get to spend your time doing something instead of starting back at like zero skill level. Why not just keep on taking your like top skill level and keep on pushing that forward? You know?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I get that people are like, do it yourself, do it yourself. I'm that way with my QuickBooks, my bookkeeping, my accounting. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
do that. I mean, I still have a CPA, but I do it myself because I need to trust but verify. Like we have a
Mm-hmm.
relationship now, so I do trust her. But like,
Mm-hmm.
even this year, she sent me some stuff, and I went back. I was like, "Whoa, this doesn't look right. This doesn't look right." And then she explained them. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay, girl, you might know best." But for me, it's like money wise, I just remember Oprah always saying, "It's my name on the check," and I have to make sure. So it's like I don't have 1% of Oprah's money. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, if that's how Oprah thinks, well, little old me, I need to be thinking the same way. But also, it's like outsource things that you can. Like I am one person. I could have done my own SEO. I could have designed my own website. It was just it was better at the time to do that way I could focus on other things that would secure my future. And that was the like
Mm.
I wasn't going to say, "Oh, I'm not going to do the SEO with Neil Patel because it's expensive." But then I turn around and go buy a Chanel bag, Because then the world can
Yeah.
see that no one can see I bought SEO, but everybody can see I bought
Yeah.
a Chanel bag. So my mindset, what I don't care what the world could see. I care what I can build on in the future. So I'm a girl. I
Amen to
like to
that.
look nice and all of that. But
Yeah.
at the time, the best decision for my money was to invest in my future. And the best way to do that at the time, in my opinion, was SEO and a great website
Yeah.
design. And a good
No, I love that. And I
copywriter.
think,
I have a
and
great
a good dude,
copywriter. Yeah.
copy all that, like how you're presenting what your brand is to the world, because that's like your website. It's the one thing you own. And then how are you authentically communicating that is huge.
Yeah.
But I love what you said, like it could be expensive, but like, did you almost think about the idea when there's business expenses and things like that, right? Okay, I can spend money on, like, it just feels, especially when there's so much like negative mindset, like thinking of people like, oh, you shouldn't spend money, but they're going to go buy the Chanel bag.
Yeah.
How, like, was the thought too on the flip side of like, how much is it going to cost me if I don't spend this?
Absolutely. Because
Like, I think that's something people miss.
when you have to strike while the iron's hot, and that's what I did. The iron was hot. People knew me. I had just been to my first engage. My like name and my face were like the sparks were connecting. And so, it made me relevant in the wedding world in the sense where it's like, oh, well, she's in this room. She knows these people. Like, in that spark, that was a spark. I needed it to turn into a forest fire.
Yeah.
and so I was like, I could do all of these little things and maybe have impact. Or I could invest in what I own. And that was the decision I made. It was like, I could do a little wedding wire knot, not to call names, this, and this. And I was like, I could do all of those things, but that builds them and it doesn't build me. And I need to build me because I need this spark to turn into a fire. And that's what it was. And it was a simple decision. It was like, I knew where to spend my marketing dollars, but it was like, I could market. But like, people know when things are an ad, this would be organic and that would rank higher on Google. And that was important to me. And so like now when people call me, I'm like, I don't advertise. I don't. I will do a million podcasts. I will be cited on a million articles because that links back to my SEO marketing. It's a paid SEO. It's not organic, and Google likes organic. And that's why I'm trying to impress Google.
No, I think that organic thing is, I mean, for me, like, ads, like, I don't love getting ads, and you feel differently, right? And I don't want to give that feeling to others. And I think we all have a different personality. And I think it's something you talked about at the event in Santa Barbara too, at the Connect, where it's like, how do you lean into being your personal self? And you don't have to work at it. Because I think someone was asking you like, oh, how do you post so much on Instagram, right? Or how do you like always show up, and how is that not exhausting? I think you said something along the lines of, well, when I'm just being myself, it doesn't like take any work. Like when we're hanging out, Erica's going to the back into the room, and you're like swinging the door open. You're like, oh, we're just hanging out. All right, here's a video. Like, I'm just going to film the quick video of the room. Cause you're like, whatever. Like, we're literally in the conversation. Our girls are like playing chess, and you're like, all right, I'm going to film. Erica, open the door for me. And you're like, you're not, which was hilarious. That was so funny.
Listen, it's not even a thing. Yesterday we were at this Oscar de la Renta event, and I'm like, Erica, record me, and she's like, okay. And Erica's standing there with her phone, and like in the video, the phone goes down, and I'm like, Erica, and she's like, okay, yeah, what were you saying? And she said, I am not your assistant. I understand. I'm so sorry, but you didn't get it right. You got to do it again.
You get yourself some good friends. But it's funny where you're like, hey, it doesn't need to be this whole production. I got to get everything perfect. We're literally like we're yelling over this like head with my 3-year-old playing chess, yelling at me that I'm not playing it right. And then you're like swinging the door open. It's just like so good. I'm like, wow, you're just going to post that and not. Versus so many people like have to be perfect. They're like, okay, I got to line up the camera. And you're just like, that's not, versus putting yourself out there and like showing up yourself. Is like, that's what you're wanting to invest in. Yeah. And there's business ways to do so and like maximize your output, I think is what you did, where you're like, okay, I got resources. Am I going to value, like, look at like everything's like a cost on both sides, but so many people, whether it's like spending money on like, a website design or copywriting or SEO or like a photo shoot, like whatever it is to help. Are you doing like are you figuring out ways to manipulate people to buy? Like you're like a used car salesman or whatever it is. Like, how do I just get as many like sales through and don't care what the like effect is versus, oh, how do I attract the right people that resonate with me? Right. And I think
Right.
that's different because you're like, oh, I just want to like magnify what I'm already doing. Right. Is that like, you're
Exactly.
like, I want to do more of that versus how do I just like make more money? But
Right.
if you can treat that as like as a resource, like, okay, I've been entrusted with this. I'm not either I can go waste it or I can invest it. But investing takes risk. Like I think so many people
Yeah.
want a for sure thing and they're so caught up with security. But I think when people, it's funny because I'm like, there's financial freedom and then there's security, but I
Hmm.
forget who's quote, but like in a lot of ways, security and freedom are like opposite ends. Like you kind of have to let go of security to have freedom.
Hmm.
Like if you want total security, like lock your house, don't leave, and like then you can't get hurt or whatever, right?
Right.
You go on a trip somewhere and you trip, you're gonna break a leg, or you know what I mean? But you have freedom, but there's a risk to that freedom, right? You have total
Right.
freedom. Like there's a lot of things that can mess up, but are you trying to live to have just security or trying to live to have freedom? And I think
Right.
what people really want is freedom with like having that financial maybe safety net where if they do fall, it's not like the end of the world, right? And I think like
Yeah.
making calculated risk, but like what was the risk like if that didn't work out when you invested in your SEO? I know this is like I like it as a specific example. I know there's probably like
Yeah.
multiple things throughout business, but like
Well, if like doing the SEO didn't work out, then I would have had to go the slow route, which would have been marketing
mm-hmm,
and like
mm-hmm,
ads. Ugh.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, that would have been the next step, ads. I mean, but also I hate to say this because my mom passed away from COVID, but like COVID was pivotal for me in the
mm-hmm,
sense where it gave me the opportunity and the time because no one
mm-hmm,
else was working on. They were all too busy on
mm-hmm.
Clubhouse. No one else was working on. I'm
Here's a hot
serious.
take. Oh, I
No
know.
one no one else was working on their website or getting their pictures together or
Mm-hmm,
doing.
yeah,
I did so many photo shoots during COVID, so many style shoots during COVID
mm-hmm,
because no one else was doing it. Like venues were like,
yeah,
please come do
yeah.
something because
No,
we
I
want
remember, dude,
something.
traveling and venues was crazy. We did similarly. We had hired our copywriter. Shout out to Caitlin. She was on the podcast yesterday. Super good copywriter.
Mhm.
But we hired her and then, but it was before COVID and we were like on our queue. And
Yeah,
then we also joined a mastermind and both of which, and then was like, shoot, we're spending all this money and like our whole business year could be wiped out. Like, should we still
yeah.
do it? And then me and Jessica were like, no, like this is our time. Like you said, we have time to do this. And while everybody else is scared, like scared money, was it scared money don't make money?
Scared
Is that
money
what it is?
don't make money.
Don't make. But yeah, it's true. We were like, okay, or we invest this to like doing the mastermind helped us pivot and actually grow our business. We launched our whole commercial brand through that. So it's like, okay, now we have this whole other business that's generating revenue that we wouldn't have had if we did this. And then doing the copywriting like helped us get clarity on it. So
Yeah,
when you retreat, everyone's retreating, right? And you're like, no, that's the time that like there's no one, like you said, there's no one out there. Venue's like, please come. Like
yeah.
there's always like a trade-off to opportunity, whether it's like a trade-off to your either benefit or like you said, like if you have kids, whatever thing you have working for you or against you, there's two sides
Hmm.
of it. So you could either focus on what you can't do or you could see what the opportunity that you have because of it.
Yeah,
Which I think is just in general, like a huge mindset shift where so many people get caught up on what they can't do. And you're like, well, what if you just screw that and just focus on what you can do? Because there's a ton of opportunity. And
yeah.
I think just even the idea of like gratitude, like if you like spend time what you're grateful for each day, there's always stuff. But what is the point even living and like pursuing quote unquote success if you never take a second to enjoy what you have or what you've been
Right.
blessed with, right? Like you
Hmm.
can't operate out of it. Like I love talking to you because like you're always so fired up and animated and you're passionate about like, yeah, I'm gonna keep working, but you're not like, I'm gonna be satisfied once I hit. You're just like, no, like I'm gonna like have this smile that's like excited and just let you know what I mean? It's just like an
Yeah,
interesting like pivot. But
yeah. I'm
okay.
also not. I understand this matters, and I know that people get really upset or not. Like when I say this, they're like, "Yeah, you think that way because you have it," and I'm like, I'm not motivated by money in the sense
Mm-hmm,
where it's like I understand I need money to live. I understand I
mm-hmm,
couldn't be building this house if I didn't have money. Like
mm-hmm.
you need money, valid.
Yeah.
But when I think about how I push the envelope or like push myself to the next level, I don't think about money first. I'm like, what am I going to
Mm-hmm,
get out of this? What is this going to do for like me spiritually,
mm-hmm.
physically, mentally? Like
Yeah.
and then like when you do what you love, the money will always come. And then like when you get the money,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh my God, they paid me for that? That's crazy. That is wild.
Yeah. But it's cool when
Yeah.
you get to do it. It is hard because I know like when we started, you're like, yeah, easy to say money's not everything when you've got a
Yeah.
lot of money and you're like, okay, well, it's kind of like but like one, I do believe like there's like all these studies are like money can't buy happiness. But I'm like, well, it kind of does up to like a certain point because when you're in poverty, like poverty sucks. Like it is,
Yes.
I very like, no, like I think there's ways to grow businesses and get out of it. And that's why I'm passionate, like helping people like, okay, how can you take what you do have? Because like, I mean, me and Jessica, when we got married, we made a whole 24K. It was crazy. We were rich. Just kidding. It was like, it's not as fun when you're like that
Balling.
first year balling, making it rain. I think we went out to eat like once a year, but I'm just saying like, it's different though. When you like, I get it, but then it's like, but like the year after that, we broke 100,000. It was like, whoa, like that's a big difference. Like, it was like, how do
Yeah.
you, it, and it, like, once you break that, like, it's kind of different where you live, but I forget what some pastors, like book he was talking about, like on the topic of money. And he's like, no, like, up to like 70, 80K, like you have like, you're not on that like survival mode, right? Like you're
Yeah.
not in this survival mode. But I think if that same mindset you can shift, like you said, where it's not all about the money and that's not what's pushing you. Like I remember
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, like where we were making like, we like double or tripled our income from like the previous years. And I was like, we also were working, like we had our editing taken care of. Like we barely were working and I was so bored. Like it was weird where I was like, okay, this is what I was like kind of going after. But I was like, I want to do something else. Like I want to do something that's like creating value and like reinvesting
Yeah.
and not just because I want more money. Like I think that's something that people get lost because it's so hard to like imagine what it's like if you don't have it, you know? But
Hmm.
I think there's some wisdom of like when you do have that like financial freedom of not like stressed about where everything's going to come from, right?
Yeah.
But if you have that and can kind of reframe how you're getting there, like understanding like what you know what I mean? Like what's the point of it all? Like understanding that it's not going to, if you're pursuing the right things and like you said, if you're pursuing what you love, it's a byproduct, it's not a destination, right?
Right.
It's like what comes after like you pursuing value in others and like serving other people versus if you're viewing it as a destination, you're going to get there and be very like, that's why so many people get there and like, oh, money isn't what it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not what it is,
Yeah.
but it is a great thing because you can impact a lot of lives and help people. So that's why I'm like, it's
Right.
not a bad, like there's some people paint money as like, oh, I'm just going to be afraid of it and I don't want to like get money because I don't want to turn into some, you know what I mean? We're like, well, there's
Yeah. No, I
people
know
that are
exactly what
not.
you mean. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's like I have not had money. I have money. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But it's I feel like it's you can have money and not have money. It's what you do when you're in the middle between those two
Mm.
things that like because you I mean, how many people do we know that hit the lottery and be poor in 4 years?
Yeah.
Because they didn't make smart choices. But how many people, like
Mm.
made money or like came from nothing, made money and like are super successful? It's because like it's what you do in the middle. You have to make smart decisions. You have to like, if you have a lot of money, you can't just like ball out every day. Like, what about tomorrow? What
Mm-hmm.
about my future? What about when I'm 50 or 60? Like, you have to think
Mm-hmm.
about those things. And that's what, like, that's to me, money is your time. Like that's how I think about it. Like
Mm.
it's my time. And like how much time is it going to take me to pay for this thing? And when you think about money as time, that's like, well, okay, well, that's not worth my time. So put a value on your time and don't negotiate
Mm-hmm.
it, because your time is what represents your currency. And like once you get into something that
Mm-hmm.
you love, and I know this is like a very privileged point of view, because there are people that are like have to work at the grocery store or like don't
Mm-hmm.
have the opportunity to grow life in that way. Or and I get that, but even like when I didn't have anything, I found a way to make something out of nothing with a credit card, and I would use that credit card to pay my rent so that I could get $35 cash back. And like to me, that $35 was like so worth it, because it's truly how I built, like, now I never pay for a flight. And it started from a credit card that I had when I would pay my rent on it. And like, like seriously though, it's like you
Yeah.
can you can work your
You can get
way.
creative. Yeah.
Yeah, but like if you're like just stuck in the, "Oh, I'm never gonna have nothing. This is what it's gonna." Well, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're speaking negative into your own life. I'm not gonna shoot in my mind. I'm gonna be like brand ambassador for Lamborghini, and every time you see me, I'm gonna be in a new
You look good in a
Lamborghini.
Urus. Those little SUVs, you like those? Those
I don't even know
SUVs
what
are
that
sick.
is,
I'm
but I'll
saying,
take it.
hey, the Lamborghini SUVs is sick. Sorry,
Oh
we have car
yes,
week here, so there's always like, yes. So we just get to see all the cars because of Monterey. It's crazy, but
yes.
um,
That's what I'm
I'm not
saying.
a
I'm
car guy
like,
to go. I don't know what.
oh no, that's what I'm saying. It's like you have to think bigger for yourself because no one else is going to do
Mm-hmm,
that. You know, I could have
mm-hmm.
been just like everyone else during COVID in the wedding industry and been like, oh, there's nothing to do. I can't make any money. And, you know, I'm just going to complain about it. No, I was like, I'm going to take advantage of the people that aren't. I'm going to take advantage for everybody. And I'm going to run with this. And sorry to those people that didn't. They should have.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I loved what you said about like your time and money and what are you placing your value on, because so many people spend to like the idea of scarcity. And I'm like, I'm a big, I don't know, I'm very, very, I'm a scarcity is like I view it way more as a mindset than a reality of like wealth. Like if you can create wealth, like if you could do something that creates value to somebody else that you didn't have to take from anybody else, like
Hmm.
wealth isn't limited. I mean, I could go into a whole thing about that, but the idea where is the only thing in my opinion that's really actually like a scarce resource is time. Like people create scarcity for a lot of things, but how often it's like the pendulum will slip between are you really valuing your time more or money? But
Hmm.
what is really more valuable? This have you heard of Myron Golden? He's like
Hmm.
a business coach, but he gave the story about like to help people understand like what their time is really worth. And he's like, if you found out, I told you that you went to the doctor, like, hey, you have cancer and you have like a day to live, but there's this cure, it's gonna be $1 million though. Like, are you valuing that one day? Like, which one are you gonna value more? Are you gonna figure out a way to find $1 million to like get yourself to live another day? Or you know,
Yeah.
and it's like pretty quickly, like, shoot, that one day you just it's realize like it's priceless, right? Like life
Yeah.
is so fragile and priceless. And especially like if you have like loved ones that pass away, like you just realize like how limited time is on this earth. And if you can
Hmm.
and see that like, okay, so one, are you spending it in a way that's like fulfilling and like actually like aligns with your purpose and like why you believe you're here, right? Like on a deeper level, like not to get super woo woo, whatever, but like, I mean, like, hey,
Hmm.
are you doing something? Cause I think we experience that. That's what burnout is. Like it's on a surface level where you're like, oh, I'm kind of burned out because you're not living to your purpose and there's like a higher calling that you could probably step into. And it's a natural
Hmm.
progression. You don't go from like bagging groceries to like usually being like a top wedding player. Like usually there's steps along the way, but it's like
Yeah.
you could run up the steps, you could go, but the progressions are you taking each opportunity um to elevate your time, right? And like purpose. Because like when we first started shooting weddings, like I didn't know, like it was a challenge. Like I was stretching myself. Like you're taking that wedding, you're like, I'm gonna pull this off.
Yeah.
But then you do that a few times, and then like for me, I'm like, okay, like yeah, I can still do it. But once you can do something with your eyes closed, you're like, all right, maybe there's something
What's
else I could
next?
do that's like a
Yeah.
little bit like deeper, you know? So along those lines, if you want, I want to kind of touch on that too, like what it looks like growing business and life outside of weddings, if you're cool about
Hmm.
talking about that. Cause I think it's something where
Yeah.
if you grow a business, I think especially in the wedding industry, it's kind of this little like echo chamber and it could be all consuming because weddings in general, like with clients, it's like their wedding is the most important thing, right? Which is like when
Right.
we show up, I very much feel like we're all like kind of like athletes, like performing. Like when I'm on that call, like my cheeks hurt from smiling because it's like you're gonna like give them your all, like they're
Yeah.
all that matters, right? Which is like a great way to serve, but then it has a byproduct of like we go to networking and everything's all about the weddings. And I'm like, well, we all got lives, we have family, we have like kids or houses and other businesses we want to grow. And we didn't
Hmm.
necessarily get into this. At least I didn't get into this industry just to like film weddings for my whole life and just have that
Yeah.
be the sole purpose, right? And some people want to do it forever. Some people don't. That's a whole separate thing. But what it looks like to use it as a great thing where it's something that doesn't actually work. Like you don't have to be working like 80 hours a week on wedding. Like it's a very flexible thing and creative where have you found like grow what it means like grow your purpose outside of weddings, like with other businesses that complement? Because you've been able to still do both, I think, which is really cool, where you still have have this prominent brand, but you still have
Hmm.
grown like with your personal brand and just like real estate. Like you can any direction you want. I mean, I love real estate too, but
Yeah.
like how when did you start like really pushing the needle on your like the other side, or did you have like any like wake up call or big pivot? You're like, oh,
Well, yeah, I mean, it was COVID, and then my mom passed away, and I was like, I cannot, I
mm-hmm,
can't. It was the moment where I was like, I can't fake it with because I was devastated. I couldn't fake the, I couldn't. I
yeah,
didn't have it in me to
mm-hmm,
do it. So the best thing for me to do at that time was travel. And so that was what I did. I burned through my passport in 2 years because I hit the road. And it wasn't, I can't sit here and lie and say that it was intentional when I hit the road. When I hit the road, I started reaching out like, hey, I'm a wedding planner. I've obviously been featured in Vogue. I'm going to be in your area. Would love to create some content for your property. And then I sent like
Mm-hmm.
all the things I wanted. And the first person said yes. I was like, what? Okay, this could be a thing. But honestly, I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really looking to get anything out of it. I just didn't want to be here. But
Mm-hmm.
also like during that I started renovating my mom's condo, and like that journey was
Mm-hmm.
being followed. I was still cooking, my son was leaving, but like life was like boom boom boom, like moments of
Mm-hmm.
explosion all the time. And so like that little thing started taking off. People saw me as not only Michelle the wedding planner, but Michelle the like luxury travel ambassador. And
Mm.
like then I ended up partnering with Four Seasons, and then I did a lot of work with Four Seasons, and then other brands started reaching out. And then so it's like those things just kind of happen in a sense while weddings were still happening. But then I said, okay, well, I'm going to scale back on weddings because like this is kind of being more beneficial. Am I answering your question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
totally. You're totally
And
answering it. Like you more beneficial, like more life. Would you say more life giving?
more, yes, I felt
Yeah.
more like alive when I was like truly dying on the inside. I was like, oh, I'm getting all of these cultural experiences. And then people connected my weddings to travel because they always saw me traveling. So like without me even saying anything, people were under the impression that I was always traveling because I had a wedding. And so like that was a narrative that people made up on their own. I didn't even have to do anything. And so then that's when destination weddings came about. And then I had a wedding in Santa Barbara at Dos Pueblos, and that wedding ended up in Vogue. And so then the dots were connected like, oh, Michelle knows luxury, she knows travel.
Mm-hmm.
And so like then brands start reaching out and they're like, hey, we know you travel. Can you give us some content around this and we will pay you this? And so like
Mm-hmm.
it just was, it all kind of just, it was just like a perfect storm, almost kind of like, I don't know. It was just like the perfect storm of time. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll be there. I'll do it. And then I was like, oh, okay, so you can do you can do one thing and partner with six people and get paid from six people to
Mm-hmm.
do one thing that you were going to do anyway. And so kind of I was like, okay, so this is a thing. And like these are like this is
Mm.
literally how the dots are connected. I'm like, okay, this is a
Yeah.
thing. And so I could get this person to do this person to do this person to do this person to do this, and then this person's gonna pay me. And so like I get all of it for free and I make money. And so like
Mm-hmm.
it was just a culmination of like COVID being that turning point where the world was shutting down. Then my mom passed away. Then I was like, okay, I need to find happiness because I can't fake it. I can't
Mm-hmm.
be like, yes, those peach linens will be beautiful. I didn't have it in me. That was the reality.
Yeah.
I didn't have it in me. And it was also the turning point where I was looking to create this very polished version of myself online. And I was like, I can't. Life is short. I'm going to die soon. I have more
Mm-hmm.
years behind me than in front of me. I want to enjoy this. And if I can't enjoy it, then I'm not going to do it. And so it really wasn't the money in any way. It was more so like I was just living my life. And as I was living my life, like opportunities did present themselves, or I made opportunities present themselves and I took advantage of it. But the turning point was
Mm-hmm.
truly like my brother passing, then COVID
Yeah.
happened, then my mom passing. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I understand what people are saying
Yeah.
now when they're like authenticity, authenticity, but you can also fake authenticity. And it was like
Yeah.
I was like negative 1,000 in the way of being able to fake anything. It wasn't in me. So it was more
Yeah.
like I took a step back, but taking that step back made people want what I had even more. It was just, again, it was no luck. It was no secret. There was no magic trick that happened. It was like, I kind of just stopped caring about what anyone thought. And I did what felt good to me in that moment. And that moment
Mm-hmm.
lasted for 3.5 years. And so that's how
Yeah.
it all came about. It was like, I was like, and you know what's so crazy? I saw this girl on Instagram recently, and her mom passed away, and she like dropped her life, left her husband and her 2 kids, and like now she's journaling. She's like documenting her grief journey as she's traveling. And I'm like, oh my God, that is like such a thing. Like, I mean, she's doing it way better than
Mm-hmm.
I did it. I'm like she's doing it so much better than I. But also, I didn't have the mindset like that she has. Like, she's like very intentional with journaling it. I've journaled it, but I feel like it's more for me, not for the world. So, but I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, I wasn't alone. I feel like a lot of people just, I don't know, losing your mom is a different thing, and
Yeah.
it
I can't
changes you.
imagine.
It definitely changes you. It changed me, and I realized like I'm still a very nice person, but I'm not as kind as I once was. You know, it's like it definitely
Mm.
changes you. But business wise, to not get mushy, business wise, it definitely was a pivotal point for me where I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep faking this. This is not where I
Yeah.
want to live my life. I need to be who I am. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, that's great too. But it's who I am. Even like I had a bride that saw me on Saturday. I was at a bride's bridal shower, and she was like, "Oh my God, you're Michelle." And I was like, "Yes." I was like, "But go follow me on personal Instagram, because if you don't like me, don't book me, because like that's who I am, and I can't give you the pilot. I could, but I don't want to. And so since I don't want
Yeah.
to, I'm not gonna do it." Yeah.
No, thanks for being so vulnerable. I think, yes, business, you're like, okay, but business, but I'm a big believer in I think, especially at least corporate America, we try to like push the two away. And then like in creative spaces, they're kind of like they're a little bit closer, but like we're the same person who shows up to work as like our personal life. And
Hmm.
yes, there could be little angles more that you maybe show a little bit more of, but still it's the same person. And it's really exhausting if you can't be that same person,
Yeah.
right? Like if you want to give this version of yourself that you're just thinking is going to please clients, it's hard. Cause like we done it where it's like, okay, like you're trying to fit into the luxury market. So how do you try to like speak to that? Right. But at some point you're like, all right, this is who I am. This is what I value. Like, it's way refreshing. It's like you taking off this like weight, right? Where you can just be
Yeah.
like, this is who I am. Like for me doing this podcast, I'm like, oh, it's like intimidating. But at some point I'm like, you know what? Like I said at the beginning, I was like, yeah, whatever 5 people want to listen. But if you can speak to, who, like, it doesn't need to be for everybody. But if the people like
Yeah.
resonate with it, you're like, okay, like cool. I can show up and it's refreshing because it doesn't drain you, because you're actually like pouring out from what's inside, and
Yeah.
you could kind of give value to those. And if you're focusing on like serving others and like helping provide value, you're not manipulating other people, because when you're showing up yourself, you're like, this is what I'm passionate about, and then it's
Yeah.
going to resonate with those people, and then it's authentic, like you said, and you're not trying to like give this, you know what I mean, two-faced, like, oh, make sure I'm on, and then whoever's off camera,
Yeah.
they're a totally different person, you know, right? Like it's the kind of like that secret where I think it's like, no, you can be the same person. You don't need to be like some of these actors who like, you see, they seem really nice and then they're really a jerk, you know. It's like, no, like you
Yeah.
could be the same person in both sides of it.
Yeah.
And just how do you yeah, like in business, like if you are the same person, it's kind of that, it's like, wow, you can keep on doubling down on what you find to be like you. And like you said, doing the natural progression of weddings and doing more of the travel stuff. I think it's interesting where you also discovered like the ability of like leveraging your personality, where it's really hard. And a lot of like what we do in weddings, it's very one-on-one. Like I can't be on like multiple weddings on a wedding day, right? Like there's, or
Right.
like in communicate versus, okay, like podcasts, for instance, like you spend an hour and a half or whatever us talking, but that can live on, and like you could have that impact with hundreds or thousands of people. And now you're having multiple days of impact for this 1 hour, right? Like you're leveraging it to, or doing a brand deal with like 6 brands. You're doing one trip, but you're helping 6 people now, or 6
Hmm.
businesses. And it's just finding a way where how do I like leverage impact in a way
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean? Like we only have so much time. I think when you can realize like how fragile life is, if you only have so much time, and if you're passionate about it, you can leverage your impact. Like that's where you can have exponential growth while doing less, which I think so many
Hmm.
people find like the only way to grow more is just like grinding harder at the same thing. But if you're doing the same thing, how would anything change, right? Like at some point, like you might be able to get marginally more, but how do you ever actually increase from that versus multiplying it?
Yeah.
Which comes back to like what you said about just like investing in yourself, where that's like like you invest to multiply, right? You don't invest just for
Right.
simple addition. And that's
Right.
both your time and resources. But
Yeah, a lot of
yeah,
people feel like to jump to the luxury market, like the one main thing you have to change is your pricing. And I'm like, actually,
Mm-hmm.
no. The one thing you have to change if you want to like be seen in the luxury market is that
Mm-hmm.
people in the luxury market want to feel like you're their equal, that you can talk the talk, walk.
Mm,
You know what I mean? It's like you think if you charge more, that immediately puts you in the luxury market. Absolutely not. Like,
yeah.
can you relate to them in any way, shape, or
Mm,
form? Like, for example, I was at a baby shower on Sunday for one of my past brides, and she said, "Michelle, can I talk to you for a second?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, what's going on?" And she was like, "Is that a Birkin?" And someone brought a bag and she was like, "Is that a Birkin?" And I was like, "Oh girl, no." And she was like, "I knew you would know." It's just like a funny thing. Like
yeah. That's
people
funny.
immediately assume that I know
Yeah.
luxury. And my
Mm-hmm.
clients think of me as their equal. I
Mm-hmm.
am not. I want to be clear. I am not. In the bank account, I am not. But in the sense of like that life, I have experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived it. My uncle even shamed me for it yesterday. He was like, "Oh, you fly to all these places, you stay in all these bougie hotels, and you don't really experience the regular people." I'm like, "That's true, but I'm also a regular person. I have
Yeah.
experiences that have created this union between me and clients that
Yeah.
are of luxury, where they look at me as an equal."
Yeah. I want to
Yeah,
talk more.
and
Okay. Like taking that a layer deeper, like why is that? Like, why do they want to like to get from like that? Cause I think it's like a really good like mindset shift. Cause I think that's the biggest thing. It's not a, it's not just charging more, right? It's a mindset understanding of like, what is the actual, like, it's not a transaction taking place. It's like, what's the transformation that you're doing for the clients? And
right,
I think it's like one is a very clear because so many people, when they're charging less, everything is focused on price. When you're in the budget and you don't got money, everything is like the number one question is how much does it cost? Right.
right,
So when you like, we'll get DMs from people like, "Hey, we want to hire you. How much do you charge?" I'm like, well, one, what do you want? Like that could be a very big range. And like, it's the first
right.
question though, and it says a lot when your first question is how much do you charge? So you're trained to think this way, just like if you go to like a Walmart or cheaper grocery store, everything is like on price and how much deals you're getting.
Yeah.
Versus when you get to the luxury space, the mindset shifts from what the price is to what the impact and that value that you're getting is, right? So like how
Right.
do you like unpack like what is that value? Like why do they like what is that of why they want to be like they want to be understood? They want to be like what do you think
Yeah,
they're
I
lacking
mean,
from others? That's when you're focusing on that. Cause I think it's like a really good understanding that
you mean
for
from the
people to get.
client perspective or from like
Yeah,
the
from the
business?
client.
From the client perspective, I think
Cause
it's
it's all
just,
the same. Yeah.
yeah, it's like comfortability. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we are equal in that sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll step away from weddings, but I'll circle back. So, like,
Yeah.
the neighborhood that my husband and I are moving in is it's the most affluent neighborhood in our parish. Well,
Mm-hmm.
In Slidell, and
Mm-hmm.
so when we used to go in there where we just owned a lot, like the neighbors would
Mm-hmm.
never speak to us. They're like, "Who are these people in our little
Mm-hmm.
piece of heaven?" And so, like, now that our house is up, like, the neighbors come and speak because now we are equal. And that's just how people think.
Mm,
It's like, it's not, I mean, I do think of it a little bit as like shady, but it's really not. It's like now you're equal to me because you are where I am at. When you are
mm-hmm.
in the luxury markets, your clients need to feel that your price point means nothing because they can afford you. Like, so no matter what
Mm-hmm.
you charge, it's like they can afford you. How can you
Yeah.
relate to them? And for me, I have worked with a lot of high net worth luxury clients where it's like I went to 12 different schools for 11 different schools for 12 years. So I have a big personality. I can talk to anyone. I can relate to
Mm-hmm.
anyone. I've had a lot of life experiences and I'm very cultured in that sense. So it's like, I can speak to my clients and be like, yes, if they say, "Oh, well, I've been here, I've been here, I've been here," I can hold the conversation because I've been to Africa 4 times. I've been to Puglia.
Mm-hmm.
I've traipsed around Italy. I've taken, and it's like that conversation. There's some commonality there.
Mm-hmm.
Experience breeds exposure. And that's the truth. It's like if you have never left the state of Louisiana or the state of Nebraska and you've never experienced any different type of cuisine or any different type of music or any different type of cultures, then what are you bringing to the table besides you saying you want to be in the luxury market? Like experience breeds exposure. You
Yeah.
have to You have to expose yourself so that you can gain that experience. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're expecting to be in the same place and just change your dollar amount to book a client, and you've never had any experience in life or been exposed to anything that they have, there's nothing connecting the two of you together except your price point. They can
Mm-hmm.
afford it. They're gonna book someone who can hold a conversation about something else that will give them commonality. And that's what you
Mm-hmm.
need when it comes to these people. Your price point means nothing because they can afford you. So like you have
Yeah.
to you have to book a trip, eat at some
Yeah.
weird food, I don't know, find some way that will connect a spark between you and that person. But it's not the money, because they have it. There's no other way
Mm.
to say it. And
Yeah.
I understand that I am a black woman, and not to make this about race, and 99.9% of my clients are not black. And I understand that I am in a space where I can be related to these people, and I'm palatable in a sense where they're like, oh, just ask Michelle. Michelle knows. Michelle's got it. Michelle will take care of it. We don't even need
Mm-hmm.
to worry about it. And like, you have to build that comes with exposure, with experience. And then once you have that and you build your portfolio, you build trust within your brand.
Yeah.
And then that makes it it's not a question. It's not how much you
Mm-hmm.
charge. It's like, are you available? I have people reach out to me all the time. They're like, we know you're so busy. Like, are you still booking for this year? Like, we would really want to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm no longer selling. At this point, I'm like
Yeah.
having a conversation to see if what you want, I can actually make happen for you. And so it's like
Mm-hmm.
people immediately think luxury and like, I'm going to change my pricing. And I'm like, okay, you can do that, but you're not going to book anybody because you haven't done any of the other work that it takes to land these people.
Mm-hmm. No,
In
that's
my
so good. I
humble
think, yeah.
opinion.
No, I think what you said, like, okay, people want to be relatable, but like, I think taking a step deeper, it's like, because there's like, I think there's two sides of it. There's like the toxic, like unhealthy of like, okay, in the neighborhood. And I'm sure there's like some people with like the right heart and people with the wrong heart. Like maybe some people like,
Yeah.
okay, like, is this person like at my level? And that's like the people that are more from a fearful, like, I want to make sure I'm associated because I want to be accepted.
Yeah.
Versus you have the other side, if someone's just like, they want to have connection. I think people, like, we all crave connection. And if it's like you said, you're traveling, your uncle's like, why are you doing all this fancy stuff? It's like, does that make you feel good trying to defend yourself for enjoying nice things? And
Heck
you're like,
yeah, because everybody should want to
it.
enjoy nice things.
Well, they should. But I'm saying, like, if you're like in this position and someone's, I think I agree too, people should. But if you're like, if you have someone you feel like they're not gonna like, they're gonna look at you and you have to like defend yourself for wanting it, like at some point that could be more exhausting for someone's like, no, like you should, like, let me show you this other bottle of wine that's actually better. Like just, it's exhausting when you're dealing with someone like, who doesn't get, if someone's always solving problems by going cheaper versus someone who's like knows, like for you, they're going to trust Michelle because she's just not going to go for the cheapest option. She's going to find the most
Right.
valuable, right? Like you're like, this is
Right.
because your mindset is so different and people want to have like someone on their team that's going to think like them and also make them feel accepted and not feel weird. Like
Right.
it's like you got a nice house and someone comes over and you're like, at some point, like, is it awkward? Someone's like, oh, like, it's great. Like this is beautiful. But someone's like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like, man, how much did you spend on it? You're like, somewhere like,
Yeah, that makes me very
you know what I mean?
uncomfortable. That
It
makes
makes
me
it uncomfortable because you're like, all right, what are you going after? Where it's like, I'll be super transparent on money and stuff, but it's if I realize like I don't want to make somebody else uncomfortable, or if you're like, oh, I'm not gonna talk about how much I make or whatever if it's not constructive, right? Like I don't want to
Right.
get someone who's just like thinking the wrong way versus, oh, I'll tell anybody, like I'm an open book. But
Yeah.
I think it could be similar for clients where you put up the house and they're like, oh, I feel like I could be understood because you
Yeah.
understand me because we're on the same. And I think that's different where. And if you understand now, it's like, I understand how to solve your problems because we're on the same team where I have that taste and I have appreciation of nice things. And it's not
Yeah.
because we just want to spend money for image. It's like,
Right.
oh, I actually enjoy like, you could like, if you travel, for instance, like it's funny, like when we, our friends got married in India a year or two ago, but it's funny there. Cause like so many people, like when you're in a more poor country, people are like, oh no, like that's expensive. And you're like, wait, how much is it? And you're like, oh, it's like $20 to upgrade to the earlier flight. And you're like, okay, like I'll pay the, you know what I mean? You're like,
Right.
especially you're like, it's just so accentuated. We're like,
Right.
that, like, I don't want to sit in the airport for 4 hours and gonna pay the $20 to get on the flight, right? Like you're like, it's just so, or $5 versus
Yeah.
here it may be like, oh, $500. Like people like may not want to spend it, but it's relative and it ebbs and flows. But you can kind of start seeing
Yeah.
also like when maybe in like that adjustment, we can experience what it's like to maybe be like exponentially have like more resources available to solve problems. You solve them differently. And sometimes you need to have a very extreme example of that to see like, oh, like I'm solving problems like the equation of what I'm like leveraging, what's important is totally different to them than how I may
Yeah.
be like used to solving problems, right? You're like,
Yeah.
you're just, cost is such a limiting factor versus you said they have the money. They want to know if I'm connected to you and like if I can trust you
Right.
to focus on like solving problems the right way, you know? And that's what like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the last thing I wanted to touch on what you said, which was super good, is like I'm trying to remember what the last part you're talking about. It goes from not selling, but just uncovering like how you could serve them. And I think that's what sales should always be. Like sales isn't how do I manipulate you to like go with what I want? To me, I'm like, it should be a
Right.
discovery of like, hey, let me see if what I have to offer or what somebody else has could bring you more value in your life, right? And could
Right.
make your life easier. And that's like the journey, because it may not be a good fit, and that's okay, because I want to make sure whoever we work with has a great experience and is getting
Right.
benefit out of it. Like if I was going to talk with like a brand or like a coaching client, and if I realize like I don't have a way where if whatever they paid me wouldn't like be a 10x return, why should like it's not going to be a good experience, right?
Yeah.
But if I could be like, oh, I have a way that's like you pay me $10 and I can make you 100. Well, I got paid good for my time. And then you know what I mean? It's like, okay, that's a win-win. And you didn't take, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like if you like, it's a different way to solve the problem. And then it's not
Mm-hmm.
sleazy because you're just
Yeah,
actually caring
exactly.
about helping. Oh, I'm solving your problem. I'm not just trying to figure out how to pad my price because it's an expensive wedding. I think that's a lot of people do, like
Right.
getting luxury. Okay, I got my shot and I need to pad my price versus how do
Right.
I pad the value?
Right.
But then taking a step further, like what does that value look like? Because I think some people think,
Mm-hmm.
let me pad value, so let me throw a ton of things in my collection,
Yeah.
or let me throw a ton of things in offer. When a lot of times less is more. Like, do you have an experience of that where it's like I don't care about all the fluff, like I
Right.
just want to
Oh,
know it's
yeah.
getting taken care of. Or so many people are
Yeah.
like, okay, you're gonna get this, and you're gonna get that, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is, and that overwhelms me, and I want to say no.
Right. I mean, I have a client right now. Her wedding is coming up in October. I smile because I like her so much. But she was like, "Oh, no, no, no." We had a call on Saturday. She's like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I can't. There are too many details. Like you just take care of it." But she knows
Mm-hmm.
that I have good taste. She knows like I've given her like her deck, so she knows what it's gonna look like. And like that's where the trust comes in. She's like, "I know you got good taste. I know it's gonna be great. Here are the things that I like. Here's what I would like to add, and like let's go with it." And like that level of trust and knowing that I'm gonna take care of it. I've never, oh, let's knock on some wood. I've never had anyone walk in that gave me that trust and was like, I hate it. That's never happened.
Yeah.
So let's just keep that train on the track. But yeah, you know, once you get to a certain level, like she said to me, she said, I know I'm not doing a lot for this wedding because she's really busy and the groom is kind of doing everything. She said, I know I'm not doing a lot for this wedding, but I know I did one thing right, and that was hire you. And like she knew she
Mm,
was hiring me before we even got on the call because I'm gonna take it back. I did great
mm-hmm.
SEO. My name has been in lots of places. I was easy to find, and my portfolio speaks for itself on my website because they're called out, they're clear. And like I'm on Pinterest, everything she
Mm-hmm.
pinned ended up being like 90% ended up being my weddings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
all of those dots together made me what she wanted without me even ever talking to her. Now, then once we get on the phone, we
Mm-hmm.
have to like each other. And I mean, have we
Mm-hmm.
met? That's a no brainer. So like it works, you know what I mean? It works out. It's
Yeah.
like it just works out. So you
Mm-hmm.
you have to be confident. You have to know what you're bringing to the table, and you have to be sure of yourself. But if you're just gonna raise your price to think that's gonna get you in a luxury market, you're gonna be disappointed. And you may even disappoint a client if you get someone that can book you and you can't keep up with the level of work. Like you have to go through all the steps. You can't just go from 0 to 1,000 and think it's gonna be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's so good. And if you like, what does that look like with the trust? I want to break it down just a little bit practically for someone who like is trying to like take notes or put this all together. Is you talk about the element of trust, but trust isn't just like something you start with. It's like the end point. And then so how do you, what are those factors you said? It was like having your SEO and all the website, but like the core reason of all that, what you say is just like trust is like the assurance of an outcome, right?
Yeah.
So for her, was it just like you were so clear on who you take on as a client too, that you make sure, like, how do you maybe put that like where, because obviously everyone has like, there's a lot of talented planners and they're all gonna have different styles too,
Yeah.
right? Like in
Yeah.
different approaches. So like, how do you make sure like that trust, like what are the inputs you're doing to make sure you're like, whether it's weeding people out or like just being really clear on like who you are. So that way, when you get to that point, the people work, it's like, I have 100% trust. Like, how does that work? Do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
practical
I see
ways,
what
like
you're
with the
saying.
SEO that you're like,
So, I mean, the SEO is going to get the client to the door. And then once they
Mm-hmm.
decide to book you, they're in. At that point, you have to do everything right. You have to respond to the emails. You have to keep up with the
Mm-hmm.
deadlines. You have to present things to them. You have to like show a process to them where they
Mm-hmm.
feel comfortable along the way. It's like, think about it. A bride has never had a wedding. So she doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
know what the process is. That's why the wedding planner process is like across the board. No one is doing the same thing because we all made it up. This,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no school for this. So like when you do onboard a client and you sell them all these things, like during your call, you're selling them yourself and all these things, you have to make good on everything that you say. You can't say, oh yes, we've done a million Indian weddings, and then they get in and they're like the Holly, the Hindu, the Mindy, and you're like, you're googling you like you don't know. So like you have been dishonest to get this person, and now what you're doing is you're creating a terrible experience. And now what does that do? They're gonna, if like y'all don't part ways, they keep you on, but they complain about you, tell all your friends you're not the person to hire. And like, then you're destroying your brand, and they didn't take it to Google. They took it to their high network friends. And they told all of
Mm-hmm.
them, oh, no, no, no. If you do this, don't do it with this person because you have, once you get someone on, whatever you sell and say to them, or whatever you have on your website in your copy that you're saying that you're doing, that has to run throughout the process. Because if not, then people are going to tell the world that you are not who you say you are. And that's a hard spot to be in. And listen, there are times where like personalities don't align and people want things that are
Mm-hmm.
like more than what they signed up for or more than what they committed to, and like things get a little hairy. That happens. That's like human nature. But if it's happening 6 out of the 12 weddings you book, well, you might be the problem.
Yeah.
so
No,
yeah, like
touch that in between though, because it sounds like they all line up. Where I mean, I guess would you say like to end to a point where you have trust starts with truth
mhm,
and like being truthful. Like, okay, what is it that I'm actually? Which then you have to understand internally. Okay, what is it that I'm providing?
right.
But then you're saying so the SEO, you get people in the door, which you need to make sure whatever you're getting people in the door with aligns with what you're selling them. It's like, okay, they're in the room, like you're on the sales call, you're understanding like, hey,
Right.
what are you looking for? You come into Williams Sonoma and you're like, I really want this like eclectic, like bright color. And you're like, okay, maybe Williams Sonoma isn't the store for you, or Pottery Barn or whatever. Or Pottery Barn's a
Right.
furniture one. But like, you're like, if you go in there at some point, you're like, you're not going to be happy with what's here. You should maybe go to a different store. So like, first you're like, okay, that's
Right.
just like a make sure. Cause some people do, they come in and they're like, oh, I love your work and I really want this. And they describe a totally different style. And you're like, oh, maybe don't hire someone that doesn't have anything remotely close to what you want. Like for us, like we
Right.
do bespoke work for each client, but if you're like asking for something out of left field, like go hire somebody that's closer to it. So like that, sometimes it's like a weeding out to be like, hey, they got in, maybe they like some part of it, but you're like, okay, let me make sure you're reaffirming like, this is what we do. This is what we don't do.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, where it's like, you're setting those, like outlining and giving them a vision, what it looks like to work with you.
Hmm.
But then where it's like, you need to have that really clear. Cause what you're saying is once you get to that other side and now they're working with you, you need to make good on all those and like hopefully over deliver too. But it starts with like, what is that? What are you going to be making good on? Because if you screw that up, now you're filling up all these promises you didn't even want to do, which I think people run into because they feel like they need to pad value, what they think is value, by just throwing a ton of things in there. Like, oh, I'm going to do a
Yeah.
weekly. I don't know what it looks like. Say it's like a weekly call. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And you're like, you can't even like catch up with that. Like, how are you? You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
like, well,
I'm
now
definitely not
you
doing
set
weekly
yourself up
phone
for
calls.
failure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There is nothing for us to talk about every week.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's
Yeah. I
true.
can't even imagine. Yeah.
It's like you commit to all these things. So like when a client onboards with me after we've gone through all the things, I sent out, this is what our time together will look like. Here are the
Mm-hmm.
expectations. And so like then we have an onboarding call and we go over all of that. Not like in
Mm-hmm.
detail because some people don't care. But you know,
Yeah.
because they have all of this trust because my portfolio
Mm-hmm.
is what it is. But like I still explain it to them like this is what our time together is gonna look like. Please, you could text me all day long, but if it's something important, please don't text me. It needs to be in an
Yeah.
email because I mean, I know we're friendly, but this is still work. So, it's like
Mm-hmm.
along the ways, it's like, yeah, I'll talk to you on a Saturday. I'll talk to you on a Sunday. I don't care if I'm not doing anything, I'll talk to you. And so, like, that also builds trust. They're like, Michelle is available. She said she'd be available and
Mm-hmm.
she is available. And so, like, if they're freaking out about something, it's like, just call me. Let's talk about it. Or,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, you have to commit, you have to stand firm on your commitments, because that's where that trust
Mm.
lines up. Like, like I said, I don't do any marketing, and most of my clients are referrals. And it's like, oh, you did this wedding, she told us to hire you, and so we're hiring you. And so, like, my
Mm-hmm.
2026, I'm completely booked. I have no more slots, and it's all
Yeah.
referrals. And like, that's
Yeah.
one referral and one person that didn't trust their planner and hired me.
Yeah.
I'm just
That's
saying,
crazy.
like,
Yeah.
it,
Well, I mean,
it
it sounds like you spend more of your marketing if you like, I mean, simplifying is always a better option. And for you, it sounds like if you took all the energy, you'd be like trying to cast a wide net of just getting leads, and instead spend all that time in creating a good system of trust and like giving people a great experience. It takes
yeah.
care of itself. Right.
Yeah.
Like
And
if
then
you
if you
can,
have, go ahead.
no, yeah, I was saying, yeah, if it takes care of yourself and then you get the referrals like you're talking about.
Yeah. And if you are like marketing on Google and you're getting lead on top of lead on top of lead, and you're consulting at 15 minutes every time you consult, like, that's a lot of time for a bunch of dead
Mm-hmm.
end leads, because you've cast your net so wide
Yeah.
that you're catering to everyone. Like, again, put a value on your time and stick to it. Look at your ROI and your historical data of what you've sold, and see what has brought you the most profit, and then maybe hone in on those services. But like, it's like you said earlier, it's like you want to work harder so you could get there, but it's like, you don't even know what's the best, what is working the best
Yeah.
for you, because you haven't looked at anything. Like, your data
Mm.
is there, it's available. Go look at
Yeah.
your QuickBooks and run a profit
Yeah.
and loss, and see what service you sold that was the most profitable for you. And then take that service and
Mm.
say, okay, well, I'm going to hone in on this service and see if this will yield a better result for 2027, because it's kind of too late
Yeah.
for 2026. So, like, am I going to yield a better result for 2027? But if you're just like guessing, you're guessing what your pricing should be. You don't know how much you're spending annually to run your
Mm-hmm.
business. You're just like haphazardly giving yourself owner's draws instead of paying yourself a check, like a payroll. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
guessing. You're never going to get anywhere if you keep guessing. You got to look at the numbers. You got to know what you want for yourself. Like, what's your goal for the next year? Like, you got to start looking at the bigger picture if you want your business to be successful. But the guesswork and assuming and like, oh, I want to be in a luxury market, so I'm just going to charge more. What are you charging more for? You
Mm-hmm.
don't even know how much money you need to make. Like, it all goes together. Like, you're just like, I'm going to start charging $12,000. And I'm like, for what? What is different about when you were charging six? You
Mm-hmm.
don't even know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no, I love that. No, that's, I mean, you're just a little passionate about it. I mean, it fires me up though too, because I think just even like you said, like practically though, so if people don't miss that when they get stuck, where I think one, you got Instagram. I don't know, I'm not on TikTok, but I know TikTok's a big thing. You got all these things, and I think there's a lot of noise, and when people are stuck, you're just like trying to, you know what I mean? You're just like trying to glean, but everyone has an opinion, and you're like, so I should do this, but then I should go this. And you basically like go a million directions, and you're in the same spot because you went like 5 steps this way and you went 2 steps this way. And then you're just like, and it could be overwhelming. So like to take a step into action where someone could like stop listening, just do something really practical. Cause what you just said was really good. Like from QuickBooks, of just, whether it's QuickBooks or just like practically, like, could you walk through what that looks like to actually analyze? It sounds like, what does that mean to analyze what my offer that did well was? Because I think it's like, if you're a business, like, no, I get it. But for someone who's like still a little bit newer in business where they're not spending time looking at their finances and they're like, yeah,
yeah.
I have a personal bank account that I just get paid into, and it's just like the money flies in and out. Like, dude, I've had some friends who are
Well,
like, you've been running your business for this long and you have one. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like how taxes must be a nightmare. But like, what does that look like?
whew,
Is that something you do like quarterly? Like, how often are you even like looking at that when you do sit down? How does that look like practically analyzing that so you can be able to refocus your energy?
I'm gonna try and keep this surface level just because I
Mm-hmm.
can go real deep on this. So, like, first things first, like, your profit and loss is what's going to tell you what's working and what's not working. if you have your QuickBooks or your bookkeeper has your QuickBooks or whatever program you're working in done by classes, because that's how you sort
Mm-hmm.
things. You sort things by classes. So, like, for example, for me, I have full wedding planning, design, planning, and production. And like those are my classes. And then whenever
Three
I'm
different.
doing 3 different classes,
Those are three different.
and
Cool. Okay.
and so then when I go and I look at my profit and loss, I run it by class. And I look and I see which class is making the most money. So then I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, this class is doing great and I don't have a lot of expenses allocated to it, meaning like my
Mm-hmm.
daily, like my light bill, my whatever my expenses are
Mm-hmm.
allocated to it. Okay, well, I will reposition my allocations of my expenses so that things level out a little bit more on the bottom line of my profit and loss. But like, short example, go class your stuff out and then look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could also take this a step further and go look at your profit and loss by client and see how much went into
Mm-hmm.
each client and which
Mm-hmm.
clients for the year were the most profitable. And then look at that client and say, was this a high end client? Or like, think about the client even as a person. Like, was this client like, did I work really hard on this project? How many hours did I put in this? You could even like start tracking your own hours. I don't do that, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if like you really wanted to drill down on this information, like track your own
Yeah.
hours and see how much client took how much time from you. And that way you could see like, okay, well, maybe, I don't know. I'm just saying this as an example. Like you could do day of event management, partial planning, whatever. And if you're seeing like you're doing the same amount of work on partial planning as you're doing in full planning, well, then maybe get rid of partial planning and
Yeah.
say, now I only sell full planning and here is my new rate. Because honestly,
Mm.
you were probably doing full planning for a partial planning rate when it was the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what you need to look at to see like,
Yeah.
what am I doing that's actually making money? What is also the least amount of time with the most amount of return so that I
Mm-hmm.
could get to the next step? And then also, what can I add to this that will bring in some additional revenue? But like, you have to look at this information. If you're not looking at this
Yeah.
information, then you're never going to know what your next steps are. If you're just guessing, well,
Yeah.
you're guessing with no information. It's like you're throwing a dart in the dark. Like, you're
Yeah.
never gonna really
Oh,
land.
totally.
Yeah, it's like it's ridiculous. Like, you have to look at
Mm-hmm.
your information. And I mean, you don't need, I mean, it would be nice if you had 3 years of historical data, but if you only have one or two, like,
Mm-hmm.
you always want to look at it. I look at my stuff all the time to see
Mm-hmm.
where I'm at and where I'm going and what I want to do next, or if I could go from 8 weddings to 6, or like, do I
Mm-hmm.
increase here so I could do less work, but then create more customized experiences for guests and for
Mm-hmm.
clients. And so, that's, you just have to think about that. There is not, at
Yeah.
no one's, listen, I worked for a huge car company and they did profit and loss meetings with the whole Southeast region at the beginning of the month, and everybody went over what their goals were. Listen, if $1 billion company is working that way, my company should be working that way as well, because that's how you
Mm-hmm.
know. And it's like,
Yeah.
you think of your small business as a small business and it doesn't matter, and actually it does, because you want your small business to be
Mm-hmm.
big business, and that's how you get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it matters a ton when you may be a solo or like a small operation. Your time is like, you can't waste. If you're, I think what you said too, and you breaking it out by classes, and then if someone doesn't catch it, like on expenses too, if you have expenses, you obviously may have like your email service or like Dropbox, things that are like across the board that you can like divide out. And then if you
Yeah.
have like an event where you're like, okay, I bought all these like Home Depot buckets for the floor, like whatever it is, like those are tied to that event. And then you can start
Right.
seeing patterns of like, oh, every event that I like did this for, I had this extra expense. Or like for
Right.
like a cinema and photo company. Like if someone does both and they realize, well, every time I did both of it, I had to hire a team. Or like for you, anytime I did a larger event over 250 guests, I had to hire this many more people. And then actually I was
Mm-hmm.
making less money, but it was a bigger check. So a lot of times you just think, oh, I'm going to keep on chasing that. And in reality, there may
Right.
be a smaller offer, quote unquote, that you could be like, well, I could do double that and it would still be so much easier. And you're like, oh, what if
Yeah.
I spent time doing that? But you can't even see that and have vision if you don't see what the bottom line number is. We
Right.
just always focus on what's that check coming in to the big account. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to keep on following the bigger check and without understanding what the byproduct is.
Mm-hmm.
And something that we've done too, that I'd take a step further too, is especially by client, is sometimes you can look at it, especially I think in the wedding industry, it's interesting because it's not like you have like hundreds of clients. There's usually just a few. So you can look by project a little bit better and have like top of your mind where you could look at the numbers and see the profitability, but then you could also maybe look at your own enjoyment or your own gut decision, where if you can't determine how much time you spent, you can still at least maybe determine how much like emotion, like, was this one that I liked or didn't like? Okay, what were the elements? Like, was it because is it because it was like in this area of the country or world where it's hot and I don't like being sweaty and humidity? Right. Or was it like, or was it in a country where it's like transportation's hard? Like, you could start understanding, maybe peel back, like, why did I not like doing this type of event? Or why did I not like working with this type of client? Why did I do like this? And it may be something you didn't even realize. And then you could start pivoting your offer and realize, oh, I like this and I was really good at this. And this client had like raved about me because I was really good at handling this kind of situation. So how do I maybe talk about that more and talk about what I don't do? But yeah, it is something I think a lot of people, if they feel stuck, like, would you say that's probably the number one thing that they could just do, where you may be spinning your wheels, but you just take one day, download it, even if you haven't done QuickBooks.
That's a better use of your time than trying to do your own SEO. At least you're gonna yield a quick answer. Like, as soon as you download the report, you're going to have your answer. Like, that's a much better way to spend your time.
Yeah.
And also, it gives you information. It also gives you information where you could make adjustments easily. Like, it's really at your fingertips. And
more affordable, where if you're at a point where if you're like not an accountant, you're like numbers, like, I don't know, I'm going to dump it in QuickBooks and it's going to auto categorize and I don't know what the heck classes are. Like, what is, you know what I mean? Sounds like, I don't know. That scares me. It's also probably cheaper to hire someone to help you with your books than do a whole SEO rebrand. Like, a few $100, you could have someone, you're going to sit down, you can explain with them, because a lot of times maybe bookkeepers don't understand the wedding industry. So you could explain, hey, I want to classify it by a client and buy these type of offerings so I can know. Because they may be like, let's just keep it simple and put everything under revenue. But you would want to tell them, one, these are my core offerings, because I want to be able to understand because they're different offerings. So they can understand why. You break that down, and then the costs associated. So help me, I can go through line by line and tell you. If you don't know how to categorize in QuickBooks and it's going to overwhelm you, like, it's probably going to take you for a year, maybe like 2-3 hours to go through with them. And with our like bookkeepers, they've also just give us like a spreadsheet. And I just like let them know things that they don't know. But you could practically, I'm like, don't let that hold you up, because spending maybe a couple $100 to $1,000 could give you the vision to know, make a pivot in your business that could exponentially grow it in a way that you never saw before. Because that's the thing I get passionate about, where people talk about mindset and you're like, yeah, but how? I'm like, that's a really good practical tool to now pivot the way that you approach your whole business.
Yeah. And it's easy. And it also changes your mindset. It puts you in a position where you feel like you're in control. Because sometimes you feel like you're just a squirrel chasing, and like now you're like, this little thing, while it's a big thing because it's your numbers, this little thing puts you in control of how you see your future. And it's literally at your fingertips. And it's also, you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, I'm spending way too much money eating out. So let me adjust that. Because those numbers are there. It's like, it shows you how much money you spend eating out, how much money you spend on gas, if you're categorizing everything, right? So it is very important. If you can't do it, please hire someone. That is the biggest piece of advice. Hire someone to do it, because then this information works for you forever.
And if talk to them though, don't just have them do it. Because a lot of times, like you said, like let them walk you through it. Because like you said, like was it Oprah? Like, oh, you take care of it yourself. I think you can get help, but like it's a slow, like, don't just like hand over the keys and be like, yeah, I trust that you're going to get it done. Because one, you want to make sure you can trust people, but even if they have really well intentioned, they're not in your business and they don't know that why a wedding planner is buying stuff from Home Depot potentially, right? Like you're like, I don't know, this is construction materials. And you're like, I'm a wedding planner, I'm not buying. Like, I don't know. Like I'm just throwing out. Like you're like, no, that's like you need to categorize it diffefully. So just
but even if you're
backstory,
even if you're buying buckets from Home Depot, let's say you're a florist and it's for a wedding, categorize it to that wedding, because that is an expense for that wedding. So like then it's like you're not just like randomly categorizing stuff that's going to affect your bottom line. You can write it off as a cost of goods sold for that wedding, and therefore now that item that you bought becomes like a taxable line item. I mean, it's all like a deductible line item, but it goes towards the cost, the like your profit and loss for that event. So like people think about it as like overall big picture, but you want to drill it down as much as possible. Like if I'm going to meet a client and I'm putting gas in my car, I'm categorizing that gas to that client. I'm serious. Cause
Yeah,
like,
no, it's a good way to know what, because otherwise
yeah,
you don't have the information to be able to make the decisions. And I think sometimes there are times you can overcomplicate things, but with bookkeepers, like it is just such a niche industry, and they're
hmm
like, oh, just simple. You're a solo prop and you're not a $1 billion company. Let's just keep it simple. But knowing which thing is tied, that's the whole point of a profit and loss, is know to where you
hmm
like spending resources wisely and getting a good return, where you not. Because if you
yeah,
have like your revenue, but then the expense for that is really close to it, it's not a good. But if you're like, whoa, this revenue is tied to this cost of goods sold, and it's a great return. And this one barely has any additional expenses involved. Okay, I'm
hmm
going to spend more energy on that. It just gives
yeah,
you that clarity. We can start making decisions to grow. Or if you don't have it, and I think it can be scary if you're not looking at it. It is just an encouragement. The cool thing is once you get it, the numbers are there either way, but it could start helping you make better decisions today to start
hmm
growing and know. So otherwise, nothing's going to change. If you don't look at it in the mirror, you got stuff all over your face. You never look in the mirror. You're never going to know that. It's like, all right, I don't want to look at it. But if you can look at it now, it's like, okay, now I know what I can change and start like growing. And oh, the line I was going to
yeah,
say, the last thing when you're saying about like knowing cost of goods sold, without going a whole tangent, because I'm I'm passionate about like taxes and stuff, where talking to them, because even though it sounds like they're just expenses, depending on how you depreciate items versus cost of goods sold versus what
hmm
expense category they in, can have a very different repercussions on your return. Whether it's like, I'm not a CPA, like I'm just saying, talk to them about it, because whether you're in
yeah,
California or like New Orleans, or if you're with the federal versus state, has very big differences. But we've had it, especially if you're buying real estate. It's also with
hmm
lending. That's a whole nother world I get into, but how you categorize can have a big impact. So it's worth making sure they fully understand what is the purpose of those expenses. So
hmm
that way it is categorized in a great way. Cause that's what we found, like even like depreciating stuff, we're qualify way more for real estate purchases, because
hmm
depreciation's added back in usually with lenders, compared to if you don't depreciate and you just expense something. Even if you can, there's certain things you can choose to go either way on, but
yeah,
we've been able to qualify for lower rates because we had the depreciation added back in. And at our time, our CPA had no idea what we were doing. They're like, okay, whatever. And I was like, no, I'm talking to our loan officer. This is saving us like 2% on our mortgage. Like, we are doing this right now. So just asking good questions, like trusted professionals,
yeah,
but ask them a lot of good questions is a good thing to
yeah.
always like push back on.
Yeah, but you
Um,
you also know that. So like that's a thing. Like they're gonna do what's like common practice for them.
mhm.
But like you also knowing, you can also be like, hey, wait, listen, I know that you're saying do it this way, but this is a better way for us to do it. Is there any
Mhm.
like you need to also be able to talk the talk and walk the walk with these people.
Yeah.
The same way you need to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk with your clients. Like this is your business
Mhm.
and no one's gonna run it good for you except
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah. Which I think
yeah.
comes down to like, who are you listening to? Are you listening to people that are growing their business in a way they're like, oh, I want it to look like that. And now I know the words to say, because if you go in, like if I go in to talk to our CPA and I feel like it's a stupid question, it's embarrassing to like say something. But if I heard I'm like talking to someone like you or someone who's like in their business, like, oh yeah, I did this. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be like, hey, can I get the same thing that like I heard about it and they did it? So I'm gonna feel differently about it, versus if you feel like a fish out of water and you're like, I don't want to ask, like I feel embarrassed. But getting advice from people that are doing it and then verifying it. But I think just making sure, who are you listening to? Because a lot of people just
Yeah.
are just say no to everything. Oh, like I've tried that, I can't do that. And you're like, well, I don't know. I always think there's a way. I always think there's always a third door. That's my opinion. There's always
Yeah,
another way to solve a problem. But
for sure.
anyways, well, thank you so much for your time. We could chat forever, but it's I love just your perspective on both business and life. And if anyone wants to reach out, I know you got a couple things going. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Okay, so if you want to see me, the person you met today, you shall
Yes.
follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Michelle Norwood Living. If you want to see all the pretty, very poised and put together, it's on Instagram and TikTok as Michelle Norwood Events.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, we'll link those in the description. But anyways, well, until next time, thank you, Michelle. Hope good luck on the rest of wedding planning for your own. That's so exciting. Congratulations again on that coming up, and on the house too.
Thank you.
Praying that it all gets done in time. I still can't believe that's crazy. It's a tight
I
window,
know.
but
I need, and the end of the year is coming. We got to wrap all this up.
awesome. All right. Well, take
All right.
care.
Thank you. Bye.